$249,000. I mean, come on. Can you find a more beautiful property than what we're looking at here, as well constructed as what we're seeing at that price point, when it comes to a city like a Detroit that provides a pretty decent amount of amenities in 2026 in comparison to the previous years, right? This city definitely has its challenges, but when we're talking about the housing stock, the quality of housing stock here in the city of Detroit, second to none. I don't think you can come across another city with as solid of bones when it comes to the housing stock that the city of Detroit has. What's going on, folks? Eddie Carrington, mayor of Flux City. And a buddy of mine reached out to me recently. They're thinking about moving back into the city of Detroit. They moved out of the city some years back, and they're considering a move back to the city. And during our conversation, I pulled up realtor.com and looked through a number of properties, talked through a number of opportunities with this individual. And as I was doing that, I came across a number of solid looking properties. And so I decided to peruse the current offerings of the Detroit market along with you guys. So let's check it out. All right. So this video is not sponsored by realtor.com, but this is my personal go-to tool to see the current offerings of the market. This may not necessarily be as accurate as other tools that realtors, licensed realtors, can use and take advantage of, but it's a really good start when it comes to seeing what is currently being offered in today's market. Let's check it out. So right away, I come across this beautiful property in the Boston-Edison area. And this is a hell of a deal. I got to be honest with you, right? This is a property that is in a very desirable neighborhood. It needs a lot of work, of course, and it looks like it was a foreclosure at one point. But for the most part, this house seems to have some pretty solid bones, right? And for a property such as this to be able to go for under $200,000, that is in turn, I would say less than seven-ish minutes from downtown Detroit, less than 5 minutes from Midtown Detroit. I would say that this is a pretty solid opportunity. When you come across opportunities like this, I mean, you got to obviously have either the capital to be able to rehab it or the ability to do so, maybe through a 203K loan, something of that nature. But when we're talking about a property such as what we're looking at here for less than $200,000, I mean, you put 150,000 into a property like this, and you're probably looking at a property that's worth easy, 550, $600,000 in today's market. Here's a condo for $420,000, and you're looking at a 2-bed, 2-bathroom condo. Pretty good location as well. But if you were to compare this to the previous property for less than $200,000, this property here, 2-bed, 2-bath, 1,200 square feet, $420,000. Theoretically speaking, if you put that 420,000 in that previous property we were looking at, via the purchase price and the rehab price, you'd probably be a little bit happier with the outcome in comparison to this. Now, at the same time, this is all about location, right? This is a site that is close to everything, right? In the Brush Park neighborhood. And it looks like we haven't even gotten into the inside of the unit yet. Okay, here we are. And the property looks good, right? It looks complete. It's finished. It looks very comfortable. It has kind of this raw but finished feel. And when it comes to the lack of responsibility that comes with a condo, that's the true value add. And so here you get that, plus you get an excellent location to all of the goings-ons in the downtown district when it comes to this site here. So let me know what your thoughts are about this property. This property here looks like it's pending $250,000, right? This comes with a garage, looks like it's a corner lot. Interior looks great. Look at these architectural details here that you don't typically get in new build facilities. The interior looks like they decided to go with carpet throughout, as opposed to finishing the wood flooring, which is understandable. Maybe a different decision on the paint color, maybe not. Maybe purple, dark purple is your color. Kitchen looks a little outdated, but the beauty about an quote unquote outdated kitchen is the ability to refresh it with light fixtures like they've already started to do, right? They have a nice fancy fan in the kitchen, which I'm not too big of a fan in the kitchen for one reason or another, but they also have the ability to, throw different wallpaper coverings or, a different coat of paint to in turn change the overall feel of this kitchen, changing the hardware of the cabinetry. That could be a benefit as well. It looks like they actually might have done a refacing of these cabinets at one point, but for the most part, it looks good. $249,000. I mean, come on. Can you find a more beautiful property than what we're looking at here, as well constructed as what we're seeing at that price point when it comes to a city like a Detroit that provides a pretty decent amount of amenities in 2026 in comparison to the previous years, right? This city definitely has its challenges, but when we're talking about the housing stock, the quality of housing stock here in the city of Detroit, second to none. I don't think you can come across another city with as solid of bones when it comes to the housing stock that the city of Detroit has. Here's another property here, $100,000 off Joy Road. And this is a pretty solid property, right? 100 grand. And brick home. Looks like that porch is in decent shape. From the distance, it looks pretty solid, right? Everything looks like it's operational. Comes with two kitchens. Is this a duplex? I think this is a duplex. Yep. So this is a duplex, right? So $100,000 gets you a property that comes with also a garage. This doesn't necessarily look like the same house. That's kind of weird. Let me see something. I'm not sure if that picture goes with this property. Hmm. That's kind of weird. But for the most part, when it comes to the property that we're looking at here, 100 grand. Here's a bit more of an expensive property, $290,000. And this looks like it has a slate roof, which those can get pretty costly when it comes to repairing, but they typically can last you 100 years plus. And so as long as you maintain those types of roofs in the format that they need care of, you could have a roof that lasts you for centuries. And so this property looks great. Wood floors look good. Looks like it's fully operational, right? Has a ton of character with regard to kind of a fusion between the old and the new. And so that's a pretty looking property right there. $290,000. Now, this is an interesting find. This used to be a bank, and the buyer of this property converted it into a 2-bed, 5-bathroom home, 5,000 square feet, and it is currently on the market for $1.1 million. Now, if we're talking a 5,000 square foot home with only 2 bedrooms, I'm not quite sure if it's worth the million one, right? But at the end of the day, that might just mean that I'm not the right buyer for this property. You may be looking at this and saying, hey, look, this is a great opportunity for me and my family to buy it. Or maybe you're a bachelor or a bachelorette. You don't necessarily need a ton of bedrooms. You just want a ton of living and experience space. Well, you have it here. Or maybe you want to convert this into an Airbnb if the law and zoning allows for you to be able to do so, right? But this property is $1.1 million dollars, and this is a pretty intriguing site, right? Really good location, and this has a ton of character as it was, once again, an old bank. I am intrigued by what the previous owner actually purchased this site for. I'm pretty sure they bought it for a song and put their own little spin and touches to the interior as we're seeing. It's pretty unique, somewhat funky when it comes to the overall finishing touches, but it looks great. This is intriguing because I'm seeing this room here, but I don't necessarily know if this is an actual part of this living space or if this is a separate room that just has a vision of each room, right? Respectively. And so I don't know if that's accessible from one half or the other. And the reason why I'm saying that is because look at this image here, right? This just looks like this is looking outward towards this open living space. Maybe this is an office or a workout room, but there doesn't seem to be kind of a direct entryway from this open space over into this room here. That's a pretty cool, Netflix and chill area right there. This must have been where the safe was at one point, as you see how thick this concrete is. But I'm also intrigued by what they did with the door, and that would have been a pretty nice finishing touch on this site if the door was cool enough to incorporate in the finishing touches of this living space. Cool looking room. The greenish doors. I'm wondering why they went with green. It's a bit funky, but it's also pretty neat. Shower looks good. Bathroom looks solid. Not sure what type of room this is. Maybe this is in the basement. Storage room, storage area. I don't know if this incorporates a portion of this building or if they're just wanting to incorporate this image here that shows the backyard. That room looks great too. This is $1.1 million, right? This looks phenomenal. But once again, we're talking 5 bathrooms and only 2 bedrooms. I'm wondering why they went with that overall layout when they had so much space. They could have potentially expanded the number of bedrooms, which in my opinion could have made this property more valuable and more sought after because it in turn can house more people comfortably as opposed to kind of this open living space. But beautiful property. I think what I am missing from this listing is the floor plan of this overall site, because I think I would really want to understand just how this layout is laid out. It looks a little funky from these images. It looks great, but just needing to understand why $1.1 million. Thanks for listening to me ramble. Would love to know your thoughts in the comment section below. Which property did you see that we perused through that you'd potentially be interested in putting a bid out for? Also have a Patreon community. We talk a little bit more low level when it comes to entrepreneurship, real estate development. Would love to see you over in that community as well. See you in the next video.